Hello, folks. Welcome to the Human Music live stream. This is day 3 of our cinematic ambient or ambient cinematic track, which started with the wonderful Steam Pipe synthesizer by Erica Synths. You can go back to day 1 if you want to check that out. It's really cool. I go through. Oh, my cursor went into the iPad, it seems. There we go. And I go through most of the parameters on the panel of the steam pipe and more or less what they do and create uh, sounds and then alter them in real time as I record them using the Linstrument as a controller. The Linstrument is an MPE capable, multi-expressive control surface, MIDI control surface, which I consider tomorrow's keyboard. I consider it an improvement on the traditional keyboard. But you can go back to day 1, 2 days ago, to see all of that discussion. We're going to open the Pro Tools session here. I'm proudly using Pro Tools instead of what most people use, which is, I guess, Ableton for their production classes, because I believe Pro Tools is more like a blank page. It doesn't try to do things automatically for you and force you into a grid, and it doesn't push you into a particular style of production. So it allows me to think of it more like a tape recorder, editing table, and mixing console. So 3 tools that we already had back in the days of tape, right? And I'm trying to make a point of using more manual, more deliberate processes, avoiding things such as metronome when possible, and just trying to be as human and natural as possible, and let the music breathe, let the music exist, let it be elastic, let it have little flaws, let it be. Why does everything have to be so polished and perfect, right? But of course, I also make sure that the end result is professional sounding. Like, not polished doesn't mean sloppy and poorly executed, right? So we're trying to find that balance there, where we keep things as human um, and fuzzy and soft as possible, but also make sure that they sound good enough to be released professionally and used in the context of music libraries, such as the work that I do for the YouTube audio library. These songs are not going to the YouTube audio library unless they reach out and say they want them. I don't think they will. These are for my own private, not private because I'm going to make it publicly available, but my own personal stash of bangers, as I'm calling it, which is going to be a website called humanmusic.org, which we're working on. I have a website designer, and we're already working on, we already have a logo worked out, and that'll be coming soon. In the meantime, I'm creating content for it so that when the site goes up, there will already be some songs in there, free to download and free to use on YouTube and social media. So that's the explanation here. If anyone is here on watching the stream, please feel free to say hi in the chat, as I am very happy to engage and interact with my audience, with people who might be watching. In fact, it's part of why I do these streams. I got kind of tired of making videos where I'm all alone talking, pretending like I'm talking to somebody when I'm actually just talking to a vacuum. I much prefer this idea of um, interacting with people. If I look like I'm distracted, I'm actually just going into my own YouTube to see how many people are watching right now. Four people are watching, looks like. So thank you very much, the four of you that are watching. And again, please feel free to chat with me, engage, ask questions, make comments, suggestions, anything like that. So let's have a quick listen and a quick look at the session here. This is a Pro Tools session. This is the edit window. And the edit window is where you can see the different waveforms for the different instruments that have been recorded. And this is the mix window where you see the levels, panning, plugins, etc. So yeah, those are the main two windows of Pro Tools. I mean, there are little windows that you can open for specific little things, but pretty much these are the two windows you use. I mean, there's a MIDI editor, there's things like that too, but mostly you're using the. So this is the edit window where you can make cuts, fades, and whatnot. Automation as well. Like if I wanted to change volume, I could change this to see a volume view, and this is the volume line over here, which I could, put a couple dots in and move around and change the volume. That's how Pro Tools works. It's actually, some people consider it, find it daunting. They're like, oh, it's actually Ableton Live is much more complicated than Pro Tools. Pro Tools is simple. In fact, once you learn the more useful shortcuts, it's just this. It's just you record audio into a channel. That channel then also has a mix fader here. You can pan it. You can change the volume. You can put in plugins. You can send things to reverbs or delays or whatnot, just like a normal physical mixer. And here you can edit like you used to be able to do with a X-Acto knife or a razor blade right on the tape machine. Usually the tape machine already had like a little section where you could splice tape together. And yeah, so this is just the modern interpretation. And Pro Tools is, you can consider it a vintage DAW at this point because I think it's 30 years old. I think it's from like 95, more or less. So I got into Pro Tools in the year 2000, which is when I had finished school, music school in the States, and I went to Brazil and got a job interning at an advertising studio. Eventually, they hired me as an engineer in training, and eventually they upgraded me to producer. So most of my early career was in advertising, music and audio for advertising, high-level advertising. São Paulo, Brazil, we had very high-level multinational clients and worked for the biggest agencies in the world and things like that. So that's where I got my training as a producer. I was trained as a musician in school and as a producer on the job. All right. So let's have a listen. What do we have here? We have two tracks of Steam Pipe. Right? Steam Pipe is this synthesizer right here. It's a physical modeling synthesizer. It's not the traditional oscillator filter, VCA, LFO kind of a thing. It has like some similar things to that kind of thing, but this is a digital synthesizer, 8-voice polyphonic, and it uses Carpus Strong and evolved methods derived from the initial Carpus Strong idea, and it's called physical modeling synthesis. And it basically mimics the the way that music sounds are created in the physical world, such as tube length, surface, texture, the real elements in the physical world that alter the way that an instrument sounds. So you can almost create instruments the way you would in real life, by making a tube wider, shorter, longer, narrower, out of different materials. How do you start the vibration? Is it by blowing? Is it by bowing? Is it by striking? So that's physical modeling synthesis in a nutshell. So these are two tracks of that. The track that's pink over here was me just playing around, and I just hit record because I was serendipitously accidentally discovering some really cool sounds that I didn't want to forget about. So I just left it on record while I played around and got acquainted and explained the synthesizer to the people watching. Um, and then I thought, hey, maybe I'll use some of that later. So I muted that. And then I did an actual take, like an intentional take, which is the purple one you see here. Originally, it was 10 minutes long, but I kind of liked it more from the half point on to the end. So we're looking at 5 minutes of it here, almost unedited, right? There's a little edit at the end here and a fade in the beginning. Other than that, it's a single uninterrupted take, just the way I performed it. And basically, I was playing like a chord or single notes on the instrument and slowly moving knobs and morphing parameters, and creating this evolving texture. And then while I listened to that, I opened the track with the raw experimentation that I had recorded earlier, and a lot of it worked really nicely as the second layer, so I left it on. So that's these two layers right here. Sounds kind of like this. Right? You get the gist of it, right? Kind of fluty. Very drony. As you can see, there's almost no interruptions. There are continuous sounds that are evolving, right? And this became the bed, so to speak. The bass, not B-A-S-S, but B-A-S-E, right? The bass, as you would say in cuisine, like in cooking, it's the bass. Now there's a real bass and a B-A-S-S now. This is my fretless six string that we've already put it away. You can watch day 2 of the stream, which was yesterday, and watch me as I get a sound out of my six string, as I practice it a little bit to get my intonation on point and record a couple of takes. We kept the third take, which was when I became a little more sparse. I tried to not be too busy. First few takes were a little busy, so I get excited with the instrument. By the way, I recorded the straight DI, direct input of the bass, as well as the bass going through effects. Right? I like to have always, just for safety, I like to have the DI feed as well, in case something about the effects I later don't like anymore. And from the raw one, I can always reapply effects and do different things. That's a good way to record guitars and basses in general. Use a direct box, and even if you don't use the direct line, you can. It's just nice to have it there. In fact, one way to use it might be if you feel like it's too wet with effects, you can just bring up some of that direct, mix it in, some of that direct sound, and that way you get more of the raw sound of the instrument and less of the effects. You can blend it that way, or you can apply different effects and pan one left, pan one right. I mean, there are a million things you can do. It's always a good idea. If you're recording guitar or bass, anything that goes through effects, also record the dry sound. So the dry sound of the bass is very boring. It sounds like this. Hold on. Right, it's just a dry fretless there. But I was using amp simulation, compression, EQ, and a really nice reverb, a very expensive, fancy Strymon pedal called Night Sky. And let me quickly show it to you. It's over here. This is my signal chain. So the HX Stomp is doing most of the heavy lifting there. It's doing the effects and amp simulation so that the bass sounds like it's going through a pedal board and an amplifier, right? So it doesn't sound just like a raw output from the bass. And then this is the fancy reverb that has some shimmer. It has really long, very spacious kind of sound. And this is my direct box. And this direct box does have a analog amp simulation, which I did use just to get, a more real life bass sound. Uh, this bass in particular sounds really nice going through the Sans amp circuit. So I probably shouldn't have. I probably should have just recorded the straight, unengaged pedal, just a direct line out. But hey, I didn't. I'm using two amp simulators here. One for the affected channel, which is stereo, and one for the DI sound as well. But it's okay. It's still dry as far as reverb and compression and so on. So it's still useful for me. So this is my little pedal uh, desk here, where I kind of like I have a lot of pedals, so it does make sense to have them all connected all the time. So I basically pull them out as needed and connect them in different ways for different things. This is my JHS color box, which is a clone of an old Neve mixer channel, a Neve console channel. So it gives you that nice old school direct to console recording sound, and it gives you a very, very useful EQ. And I love that pedal. There's my trombone there, and we might use it today. I think a trombone with lots of delay might be a cool layer to add to this song. There's the cello. That was the last thing we recorded yesterday. I had to tune it up and again get kind of used to playing it again. I'm not a cello player. I'm a bass player. And but yeah, we struggled a bit to get it in tune, and it was the end of the stream too. I was rushing to get a takedown before I had to go pick up my girls from school. And I made it, by the way, if you were wondering, if you were here yesterday and you're wondering if I made it to the school in time to pick up my girl, I did, barely. I was there like 5 minutes before they closed the door, but I made it. All right, so layer 2 then is this cello. Let's hear it with effects. So it sounds like this with the effects. You can hear almost like a synthesizer on the top. That's the shimmer. It's an octave that's being generated from the original bass sound. And it sounds very nice, very ambient, very appropriate for this kind of a thing. Now, since this bass is acting mainly as kind of a melodic element, I did filter out some of the lows because it was getting very muddy. So I did that. And maybe I should also apply a little bit of compression to it, even though that will affect the reverb somewhat. Usually you apply compression before a reverb, and we recorded this with reverb. So, but maybe it's okay. It's all about how it sounds. So if your ears tell you that it's okay, then don't worry about rules or best practices or anything. Those are useful as guidelines, as suggestions. But don't limit yourself. And then we got the cello take here. Cello, I haven't really done anything to it except put some reverb on there, so I should probably, maybe I'll use a neutron, which already has, so I can tame those big lows there. Maybe give it a little bit of air at the top frequencies here. You can hear that raspy bow. Maybe a little bit of these mids can be tamed as well. And this is a cool EQ because it kind of shows you where the peaks are. It kind of shows you what frequencies are super emphatic, So when you know there's a mid frequency that's bothering you a little bit, you can kind of see here as well and tame it. And then you can add a compressor. And now there's three different. There's multi-band compression, right? So you can choose which band, low, mid, and high, by clicking on here. Or you can make it an overall compressor. and you can use the punch algorithm, or you can use a modern style compressor or a vintage style compressor. I'm going to use the vintage style compressor, bring that threshold down so that the cello dynamics are a little bit more consistent. There's less volume variation, right? And here I can set the ratio, attack, release, makeup, gain, anything else I might need, and even mix, so I can do parallel processing. If anybody has any questions about any of this, compression, EQ, mixing in general, go ahead and ask in the chat, and I'll be happy to go into a little bit of explanation if that's something you would like. That's part of the point of this stream, is not just a record of my compositions, but I'm also sharing knowledge about how I do things after 25 years in professional studios, and probably about 30 or more in home studio situations. All right, that cello is sounding nice, isn't it? That's I'm not really a cellist, but I do play upright bass with a bow, and it's not so different. So I can kind of get a different sound, a decent sound out of the cello, despite not being able to read music or play any classical repertoire or anything like that. I can use it as an element in my compositions. As long as I'm improvising, I'm fine. So here's the bass and the cello together. And here's when we add the other two layers. And we can listen to it from the beginning now. And let's listen to it as a piece. And let's think if there's anything that would add to it, that would, you know, which kind of instrument would, is it missing? Is it missing anything? Or is it ready as it is? And it's very meditative, so we I might as well just be quiet and listen. And feel free to go, drift off into thought and contemplation. Look at that. Both the bass take and the cello take are also single takes with no edits, right? Parts and all there. I played a little note out of tune, I just left it. I haven't tuned them or adjusted timing or anything. making me a little sleepy. It's nice. It's a little scattered. Yeah, maybe a tad busy. And as far as extra elements, I'm thinking a horn would sound really nice. So my trombone, with echo. And I'm also thinking like something bright on the top, like some kind of percussion. Like maybe seeds or a rain stick kind of a thing. So I think those are the two elements I'd like to add to it. And then it'll probably be ready. So today will be about finishing this nice ambient composition. Nice. So it's kind of linear, doesn't tell too much of a story, it just gives you a vibe, it gives you a mood. And it doesn't take you to places too much. So maybe adding the trombone will give you some events, some happenings, some things, some little surprises here and there. I can't play the trombone very well. I don't have a lot of chops, I don't have a lot of endurance on it. So it'll have to be probably just 1 or 2 takes, and with lots of silence in between. And then the percussion will do the same. It'll add like little things, little happenings. Hi Metulpa, Metupa, Gando Willa, hey man. Tono Alexis, good to see you here again, my friend. Hope everything is well with you as well. Good. I'm glad some people are engaging in the chat, so I don't feel so alone. Thank you very much. So we were just listening to what I did yesterday, which are just 2 steam pipe tracks, 1 fretless bass track and 1 cello track. They sound pretty good. Part of me wants to listen to some of my previous bass takes. I feel like there was, even if they were mostly busy, there were some nice things there that maybe we can rescue, as we did with the raw steam pipe track. But before I do that, I want to record some more little things, right? And we'll consider that investigation part of the finishing touches of the track. So I'm going to start by opening up a new mono audio track called Bone. It's the bone, brother, sister. Yeah, and we're going to enable input ADAT input number 4, which is where my nice condenser microphone is plugged into. Oh, it's already on even. Look, that nice ASMR sound, right? When I'm pulling the cover out of the microphone. Maybe some of those ASMR type sounds would be nice in this song. Like, should I do? Maybe that should be another project for another day, ASMR. So I have a few choices for trombone miking. One of them is the RA20. It's probably what I would use live because it is a dynamic microphone, so it would be good at rejecting leakage. It's directional, highly directional and dynamic. But I'm not live, I'm in my studio. And this Blue is such a wonderful microphone. Everything you record with it sounds good. So I think that's what I'm going to use for this song. It's already there too. I don't have to plug anything else in. So we'll start. Let's pull out the trombone. Maybe spray some water on it to lubricate and make sure that the slide is flowing pretty freely. I should turn off my microphone here, speaking microphone, and do some like lip loosening exercises that you wouldn't want to hear close up. Right. So now you're hearing me from this microphone over here, from the nice Blueberry, and I can do like hoarse sounds. And I don't play trombone very well. And for some people, that would be a reason to not record it. For me, it's the other way around because the more I actually play it, the better I'll get at it, right? So I'm just gonna play it in every opportunity that I get, and hopefully, those little moments will add up to making me a better player. Of course, I should just actually practice it, right? And do some long tones every morning to build up my chops, and that would be nice. But I'm mostly focused on the bass right now. I just got my upright bass yesterday from the luthier, so that's probably gonna be on the next track. I'm gonna do maybe some jazz or something using my upright, which is my main instrument that I went to school for. I started as an electric player, but I did focus more on the upright while I was in college, and I do feel like I'm more academically proficient at that one, even though I've been playing a lot more electric lately. I feel like I'm entering a new phase of focusing on the upright now that I have my instrument back with me and it's set up perfectly with new strings, pickup, and it's sounding beautiful. So look forward to that, to seeing me play upright probably tomorrow. All right, so let's get that trombone out. Tonal axis says that sounded very tranquil and soothing, which I guess it's good. It's what we want from this song. Needs more cowbell. Good idea. Try to learn that tenor sax. Yeah, man. I'm just one person, and I'm a dad, and a husband, and a producer. And there are only so many hours in the day, and I already learned drums and bass and keys and guitar and voice. And so yeah, if I guess eventually I'll pick up that tenor sax and work it out. Also, modular synthesizer took a lot of years out of my curiosity and investigation. Um, but I'm only 50. I probably have another good maybe 30 to 50 years ahead of me. I'll get to it. So yeah, here's a little water bottle that we're going to use to spray the trombone slide with. And get... Olá, rotas e lugares, bem-vindo ao live stream de hoje. That was Portuguese, by the way, it's my native language. And some of my viewers are fans of my compositions for the YouTube audio library from Brazil. And I do compose in Brazilian styles a lot. Alright, so I'm going to turn off the vocal microphone again, and you won't hear me talking. You'll just hear me playing. Okay, let's have a quick look. Let's have a quick look at that level. Make sure that the trombone, yeah, it's looking good. I recorded just one note of the trombone here just to see if it's good recording level, and it looks good. Looks like it's not too loud or too soft. So I just wanted to see that. I'm going to do Control Z here and undo that take because that's all that was, just a little quick test. I'm going to turn off my microphone again and blow off some of the moisture from the trombone. It's sounding a little gargly. All right, so that's about all I can do, uh, both endurance and technique wise. Can't really play the trombone, honestly. So it's just another oscillator, folks, in my arsenal here. That's basically how I use it. I use it as another tone source to add to this very meditative thing. Now, there are moments when I tried things and I didn't quite nail them. Like I tried a note and something else came out, or and those are distracting. So I think the work right now is to add reverb. So here's what I'm going to do. I already have a reverb on the cello. If I want it on the bone too, then now it justifies opening up a stereo auxiliary input, calling it reverb, and then moving. I'm going to move that Valhalla reverb right over there. Oh, okay. It says it'll make plugins that follow change. Oh, but you know what? Hold on a second. That was a mono track that it was on. So I think we're just going to have to go and reload that Valhalla. So there's a stereo instance of Valhalla. I think uh, maybe that had been done already automatically. You know, I have a fever, and the only cure is more cowbell, folks. I think tonal axis is correct. Methupa says, I don't know how you managed to learn all these instruments. Pure talent. I only know how to play the saxophone and clarinet. Not bad for 50. I'm 17. You really inspire me to learn new things. Wow, you're 17. I started when I was about 16 to be serious about music. Like, probably started playing piano at 14, but at 16, I got my first bass and started playing in bands and stuff. No, that's not true. I was pretty serious at 14 already as a pianist. And you know, you say, I don't know how you managed to learn all these instruments. That's the thing. I haven't learned them. I don't wait till I learn them in order to actually use them and play them. As you could tell right now by the trombone. You know, I can just barely get a sound out of the trombone, but it's my, I think my idea is that the instruments themselves sound so nice that I'm just trying to like get a sound out of them because I like how they sound. And then I'll use editing um, capabilities to throw out whatever sounded bad, you know, and then I'll keep what sounded nice, add reverb. Reverb is your friend in these situations. So I'm gonna send the bone and the cello. So yeah, my point is I don't learn how to play these instruments. I just play them because I play them, because I have them and I like them. I play them for fun. I'm an improviser, that helps, right? So I'm not trying to play a composition. I'm not trying to play something predetermined. So I'm basically accepting whatever is coming out and trying to react to it and adjust it to make it fit. And then that's my method of composition is layered and edited improvisation. I just improvise in layers, edit them, mix them, and that's how I compose basically. So we can have cello a little bit to one side, trombone a little bit to the other side, and both of them going to the Valhalla reverb. Now, when we use the reverb in the auxiliary channel and send to it, we want that reverb to be full mix, 100% wet, right? Because this channel now is only for the reverb sound, because we're already getting the dry sound from the original cello and bone tracks. So when we send these to the reverb, we're getting that only the reverb of the sound on the reverb channel. So just make sure when you have a reverb directly inserted into a track, you want it to be you want to play with the mix. You want to find the mix between the dry and the wet sound when you're using it in a auxiliary track and sending to it, which is how things used to be done in the old days, because you would have one or two reverbs in your studio, not one per track. So you necessarily would have to use sends. And there's another advantage to using a single reverb and sending to it, is that you create a single homogeneous room for your band, for your virtual band here. So it sounds coherent. It sounds like everybody is playing in the same place, right? So let's listen to that trombone take and cut out everything that's distracting and sounds bad. Let's go. In fact, I think the cello sounds a little distracting in the beginning here too. I started too soon. I think we should let that initial drone just sort of happen. And see here, the bass does these little harmonics, and the trombone coming in right there kind of cover them up. Right, so I think it'll be nice to have the trombone coming after that. And the trombone is also, it's a little bit out of tune. And so we can fix that by adding reverb. Add reverb and it just sounds like washing and stuff. No, I'm kidding. That doesn't really fix the tuning. There are a couple of ways that we can fix the tuning of the trombone here. One of them is to use Melodyne and be very deliberate and meticulous about which notes we want to adjust. Or we can do something more automatic that just sort of like forces the trombone into the chromatic scale. Philosophically, I'm a little opposed to that option. But let's first do, first things first. Let's just get rid of what sounds bad. And then if we feel like we still need to tune, we will tune. But maybe not. Maybe it's okay to leave the warts, maybe it's okay to leave it, to make it sound like a non-trombone player was playing, and didn't play it perfectly in tune. And see, this is human music after all. And I'm leaving the trombone a little loud. It's gonna be softer, but it needs to be loud now so that I can really hear it, and make the adjustments. There you go. There's one little glissando that I didn't quite nail. Let's put a compressor on this too, so that the difference between loud and soft is less. And I'm going to use a voice compressor because the trombone here kind of behaves like a voice. So a compressor optimized for voice is likely to work well for this trombone. So maybe we can remove this whole little section here where trombone goes down, and that way we can focus on that cello. Right, there's a bass thing there, there's a cello thing here. And there's like a kind of weird note on Steam Pipe 2, which I'm now thinking is a little distracting. So maybe we'll bring in, we'll fade that out sooner. Fade that second Steam Pipe track a little sooner. Because now I have more things happening. that better. So less is more usually. I kind of like that little accent there, a little attack on the trombone. Fum. And here again is another note that just sounds bad. Fine. Maybe I can just cut that part that sounded bad and fade in. So that note, when I sustain it, sounds okay. So we're gonna let it sustain. Metupa says this sounds like those Buddhist monk chants. Only thing required is deep voices sung by some monks. Exactly. Would be cool though, in my opinion, he says. Yeah. That's exactly what you're trying to accomplish with a meditative, like, ambient track. If your ambient track sounds like monks singing, that's a high compliment. Now, here is a mistake I like. Some mistakes are welcome. See, I played like some high harmonics that don't really match but somehow they work. You know, they're a nice little extra, a nice little ear candy surprise there. So I'm gonna leave that. Yeah, and here I do a da 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 on the trombone, and it's funny because I did the same thing on the cello. And it's funny that I did the trombone I recorded after, but I played it before. So it's almost like I knew the cello was going to do that. And I'm sure at some level, subconsciously, I did know because I'm the one who played it, right? But I wasn't consciously thinking, here comes the cello, like bouncing the bow. Let's do something similar on the trombone. It just naturally happened intuitively. Yeah, I really like that, those high harmonics. This is very out of tune. So let me take it off. There we go. Here, we'll come back here. So, there's another thing. I'm kind of killing two birds with one stone here because one, I'm eliminating something that sounds bad on the trombone, and two, I'm making space for the other instruments to come through. So I'm making it more sparse while I'm getting rid of mistakes, quote unquote. Now here, there's a little cello note that I don't love, and it's right on top of a bass note that I do love. So why not take out the cello and let the bass. Okay, I don't like that trombone. I like this trombone line, but I feel like it's a lot happening here. Why don't I bring this trombone note later into the timeline to when there's more space for it? Let's listen to that. So I did this tongue flicker thing that works really well for some things, but not here. So again, we're gonna make space for the cello and the bass, and the trombone needs to know when when it's screwed up and should let the other guys do their thing. Okay, here there's a couple of things that sound a little off. Let's listen again and start cutting. So I'm going to cut a little bit of that beginning of the trombone At this point, I'm just cutting as I listen, and I'm not stopping to check. But then if I lose my attention for a minute and I'm not sure about something, then I'll check again. So, but now that I've done a few cuts, no, it's okay. I was thinking of going back and listening, but then this makes this thing way too long of a process. So we have to kind of trust our instincts here. Now let's add a delay. We have a reverb. I think the trombone will work nicely with a delay. So I'm gonna have a delay auxiliary here. I wrote delay instead of delay, sorry. And we're gonna put a delay plugin on there. I've been using the H delay for years. It works. Just make sure you pull the analog control all the way down, because that's just noise. It just adds noise. We don't want noise. And we probably want a little bit of low pass, a little bit of high pass to kind of band limit the delay. And we don't want it to be hooked up to the host, because the host is at 120 BPM, and we're not using any BPM. So just put it ping pong and milliseconds. And let's send the trombone to it. So I'm going to create another send here. Send to track delay. Make sure that the delay, the dry wet control is fully wet, and it is. Right? Again, as when you use effects in auxiliary channels, you want them to be full wet, and that's you blend them with the dry sound by how much you send to it, by your send level here. Right? Let's just listen to the pure trombone with delay and reverb, and kind of set the time of the delay. I think we want a little more of that delay on there. I kind of like this. I'm not going to touch it. 375 milliseconds is working for me. Let's EQ the trombone. It's got a little bit of kind of obnoxious low mids there. It kind of sounds like a whale call. That's its purpose in this song, being the whale call. Now it's being a little busy at this point, so let's make some holes. Notice I'm always making fades. You don't want like dry cuts there because you add clicks. Almost at the end here, folks. And you know what? Now that I put delay and reverb, cut out some wrong notes, put it in a lower volume, I'm thinking I don't need to tune this trombone. I'm thinking I can leave it natural, and it works. So now I want to record some like atmospheric percussion, like some little seeds and maybe little whistles, maybe a big old rain stick shaped like a snake that I have. So let's open up a track called Percussion, Perk. And again, we'll set a DAT4 as the input because we're going to be using the same microphone, except this time I'm going to pump up the volume on it because the trombone's a very loud instrument. Actually, I think it's supposed to be the loudest instrument in the orchestra because it only has one curve. It's almost a straight tube, where most other horns have lots of curves that act as resistance, create resistance. And the trombone, I think, can be the loudest, but I may be wrong about that. Maybe the snare drum is louder than that, right? Or maybe it's the loudest non-percussion instrument in the orchestra. Okay, let me go get my little percussion box, and I'll be right back. You can listen to the track in the meantime, so it's not just dead silence. Hi Lumimia, bonjour, bienvenue, merci pour être arrivé. I don't know if my French is very good. Would be cool if you can add a sparkling chime sound. That's a good idea. I have one of those. So yeah, let me go get my percussion. It's sounding, as Lumimia has said, sounds very airy. Okay, so I have a whole bunch of little things here, little toys. Oh shoot! I just threw all the water out that Edgar put in this thing. This is a water whistle, and I just laid it down. But I think I have water in this little bottle here that I can use to fill it up with. A little more. More water. That's too much. Let me get a little towel there to dry my table and okay. So I have this little shaman stick here. I put the GoPro on the ground so you can see all of my percussion toys, and as I use them, I'm gonna bring the microphone down closer to the ground, and I'll probably sit on the ground for this as well. So maybe turn this also down like that, and hold on, let me see if we have any important messages here. Not right now. Hey there, folks. Okay, this is gonna be fun. Got all these little percussion things. What's the level looking like for the microphone? Oh, we need to turn on. We need to turn on low latency monitoring. I'm surprised I didn't notice that recording the trombone. Okay. We probably need a little bit more volume there on the microphone interface, and we're gonna start recording. I'm gonna sit down on the ground, pick up these little toys, and start playing around with them as we go. And again, I'll probably edit out some parts on a second pass. Let's do it. not getting a sound I like out of this little water whistle. It's not doing the gargly thing, the little thing it's supposed to do. I'm just not gonna use it. I'm gonna go and use the little seeds and things. Let's go. Oh wait, I forgot to get the rain stick. Get that. Big old rain stick shaped like a snake from the pyramids. All right, let's do it. got tired. Oh my god, the camera connection got lost. So you guys weren't seeing me do that. Oh no, I was like totally thinking that this is probably looking great on the GoPro. Um, all right, we're gonna let the GoPro cool down for a minute. Change the battery on it, and turn the Sony back to my face. And so Mitupa, do you see that? I added a chime sound at the end, and as well as lots of little seeds and little percussion elements, little whistles and ocarinas and things like that. Let's have a listen to the take by itself and add some reverb and delay to it. And I think I might do a little trick, thinking of a little creative trick to do here, which would be, how cool would it be, folks, if I were to create a copy and reverse that track so that everything that I played is playing twice, but one of them backwards. How cool would that be? So let's do a duplicate track command here. All right. Already I feel like we need to tame down a little bit of the mid-range of that little that little woodblock sounding thing, which is like a little frog. See, where is that? See, it's see, you can see it right here on the EQ. So, and we'll copy this EQ to the other track as well. Oh, this is the ozone? No, I wasn't meant to use the ozone. The ozone's for mastering. We're going to use the neutron. Neutron for mono. And we're just going to create like a nice little dip here on that sound in particular. And we're going to copy it to the other track. And we might as well add a compressor here too. We want it to be for the full range, a modern compressor with the mid ratio would probably work. And we'll do the same for this one. So compressor, modern, full range, 3 or 4 ratio. And we can open them in stereo and invert one of them. So we go here to audio suite, other, and reverse. In Pro Tools, some of these little things are in the audio suite. Audio suite would have most of your plugins show up here so that you can process audio directly with a particular plugin. But then it has its own little things that are not, you won't find in your normal plugin, such as duplicate, gain, invert, reverse, etc. Those are just little audio processing functions that are cool and useful, but are not like plugins that you would have in your normal plugin. So now, listen to this. We have one backwards track happening simultaneous to the forwards track. Feels like we're trapped in the jungle. Thank you, Mitupa. That's kind of the idea here. You know, these are, in fact, a lot of these instruments are like Mexican shamanic or indigenous. I kind of hate using the word indigenous because, you know, each culture has a name. So I'm just going to call them, but then again, if I try to call a name and it's not the right one, that's not cool either. So I'm just going to call them timeless or organic instruments from native cultures or native, I I don't love any of these words. But yeah, this is sounding really nice, right? This allows me to open them in stereo, right? Because if I only have one percussion track, it'll feel lopsided if I leave it on one side. If I leave it in the middle, boring mono. But now that I have a copy reversed, and it sounds alien too, like the reversed sounds don't sound natural, so they're weird, but they also sound very, organic and made of natural materials. So this alone is a cool track. In fact, I I could just bounce this, and call it a song. Sounds really nice. But let's listen to it in the context of the rest of the elements that we have, and perhaps we will still need to make some space for things. I'm thinking that this is sounding a little busy for ambient at this point. Maybe we can make two ambient tracks out of it, right? Parse out like elements. Have one track be just the synths and the percussion, and the another one be all everything else. That'd be interesting. Oh, those sounds are like some Lord of the Rings sounds. Fave hardware synth to pair your instrument with Twin Cities is asking. Twin Cities, at the moment, the steam pipe, which is what I used it with here. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm really loving it with the steam pipe. Depends on what I'm doing. Like for soloistic kind of playing, I really like to use it with the no coast, especially because it's easy to. I can even stick the no coast right in the same little case with the instrument, and it's tiny and easy to integrate, and sounds really beautiful as a voice, as like a soloistic voice to be performed with the instrument to do the glissandi and vibrato and stuff. I also, as far as digital, like in the box stuff, I really love the Swam instruments by Physical Modeling. Is that what they're called? The Italian brand that makes Swam. I think they're called Audio Modeling. Sorry, Audio Modeling. But those are simulations of real existing acoustic instruments, so it's a different idea. I also like to pair my instrument with, yeah, that's usually what I use it with. I'll either use it with the modular, controlling like polyphonic patches and stuff, or I'll use it with the steam pipe, or I'll use it with the no coast, or I'll use it to control the swam instruments. Um, Rain Stick, the locals, says Twin Cities. No, the Invisible Man is here. Hi, Invisible Man. Good to see you here today. All right, so let's have a listen to what we have so far. So that's two tracks of steam pipe, one fretless six-string bass, one cello, one trombone, and one percussion and one in reversed percussion track. And this is enough elements. In fact, I think at this point it would probably be beneficial. It's probably too many elements. In fact, it would probably be beneficial to edit out some stuff and make some room for more things. So let's see if the GoPro comes back online. Battery low. Weird because I just changed the battery to a one that wasn't low. I think that's just the lingering message from before. Okay, starting preview. And we're 20 minutes from the end of the stream, folks. Today I was almost punctual, starting at 11 o'clock my time. Um, Join. And I think we will be able to accomplish what we set out to do. Oh, it's still saying battery low. Weird. This battery is supposed to be fully charged. And we'll just, accept notice. Oh yeah, it's full. It's just some glitch with the GoPro. It keeps showing the message that it was showing before. By the way, this is all that I used just now. All of my little atmospheric percussion, whistles and seeds and the big snake rain stick and the vibra tone. Is that what that metal blue thing is called? Vibratone. There's like a big shell-shaped ocarina there. Some of the low sounds from that. I have a dual ocarina that is polyphonic, does two notes at a time. That little Jaguar thing does like a white noise, filtered white noise kind of effect. I'm sorry that the camera cut out, folks, while I was doing that take. Anyway, okay. So again, let's go and listen to what we have so far. Oh, Twin Cities Oxygen is saying, cool. I know some guys who aren't happy with their steam pipe, but I think having something like l'instrument or breath controller would bring out the best from the steam pipe. You know what I found about the steam pipe? It's not as versatile as one would think at first. It kind of has it's limited, but in a way that I like because it gives it a sound of its own and a personality. And I have given up trying to make presets for it. I approach it as if it were a mini Moog or some kind of analog synth, where I'm actually just modulating the knobs, finding the sound in real time. Each time I play it, I try to create something from scratch. I'm not approaching it like a polyphonic digital synthesizer at all. And indeed, having the instrument as a controller is helpful. Um, I think it works way better with something like that. It's more fluid than a keyboard. So yeah, I think people have the wrong expectations when they approach the steam pipe. Uh, and my approach to it is to like find its strong points, its voice, its what is it, especially because I get these things to review for free. So it's not like, I researched and spent money on it. I'm taking, I'm accepting something and therefore I'm open to what it can offer me. So it's a different kind of mentality. Um, well, those sounds are something like Lord of the Rings stuff. What are those software you mentioned yesterday about the saxophones, etc.? Yeah, it's a company from Italy called Audio Modeling, and they're called SWAM, which is spelled SWAM, the instrument. And they're physical modeling instruments that are very convincing models of acoustic instruments. And I think maybe tomorrow when I do like a jazz tune with my upright bass that just got back from the luthier, maybe we'll explore those with the instrument as a controller, because then for example, there's a cello model there, and with the instrument, you can do natural vibrato with your finger. You can do glissandi. You can do, crescendo with the pressure sensitivity. So it's really convincing as a cello, especially in context. Like by itself, you can probably tell there's not a real cello, but the articulation is so musical and expressive that it makes it not matter so much because it fulfills the musical role of an expressive stringed instrument, and so I'm not worried that it. That I'm not trying to emulate an acoustic cello. I'll play my acoustic cello if I want that. So it's interesting because they're not sample based, the SWAM instruments. They're based on on emulating digitally the physical properties of an acoustic instrument. And those are infinite, so any software will fall short somehow. But the fact that you can express yourself with it way better than with a sample, right? A sample is just a recording of a sound. Whereas with the physical modeling, you can in real time change parameters, right? But like the position of the bow, the strength of your vibrato, the strength of the pressure of the bow on the string, all of those things you can emulate with a controller such as the instrument. So that's really um, I know I'm piquing your interest and I'm not showing it, but right now we don't have time. We have to finish this song in 15 minutes, which is the end of the stream. So yeah, I think there's enough interest to maybe focus tomorrow's live stream on both the upright bass and the SWAM instruments. and come up with that will be a new song tomorrow. I think we finished this one today in 15 minutes. Can we? So all right, let's do it. Let's listen to what we have so far. I'll be kind of mixing and editing as we go. All right, play. Loving the reverse chimes. What a cool sound. Yeah, I like it. It's much more eventful now. It doesn't feel so flat, you know? I think the percussion adds a lot of interest. The little trombone hits, some of those cool little cello harmonic effects. And it is a little busy, but it also kind of works being busy. It feels like some of you have described it as being trapped in a jungle. A jungle has lots of little noises. There's birds, there are insects, there's the rustling of leaves, there's the wind, there's maybe a water stream. And I feel like this is evoking that kind of idea. Even the steam pipe itself, it's very wind-like. And when the noise comes in, it sounds like water. So I think it paired really nicely with the acoustic elements. And yeah, so at this point, I think if I do um, make some space by editing and mixing, I might do that at the last pass, which all of these songs, before I publish them, they're going to go through a quality control moment where I'll open them up and do one last mix using my speakers. Because so far because of the nature of the streaming situation, I've only been using headphones, and these are not even my best mixing headphones. They're uh, my best streaming headphones because they have the headset, the microphone, right? So these are all pre-mixes that we're listening to here. And so all of these songs are going to go through one last pass where I'm going to mix them with speakers, with all of my attention, and with fresh ears because it'll be a while after I had composed them. That's going to be nice. So I think this song is one of those. It's going to get its final, polish once when I open it up to, and I was thinking that a good goal would be when I have 10 songs. 10 songs is a good number for an album. Let's see. Somebody's talking to me. Oh, Methupa says, okay, let's focus on those Swam software tomorrow. Um, so yeah, so I think this is good for today, folks. I think we are done with this song for today. I think we got a nice result. This is very different, right? These are very varied results. Just as an example, if I go over here to our folder, the human music folder, how many do we have? We have 9 now. So one more, and we have enough for a little album. So I'll do a session where I will open each one, finish the mix, render it, then open them all into a mastering session, make sure that they're all sounding coherent as an album, even though they won't sound too coherent because the genres are so varied, right? Um, but at the same time, I feel like I can probably put these in order that makes the listening experience, like the playlist of it, flow well, even though they're very heterogeneous. Not erogenous, I said heterogeneous. Get your minds out of the gutter. And so, for example, this is the funky tune. Not all of them have bounces, but this is that funk tune. That sounds so different from this, right? But then, maybe this is a nice, like, relax after the funkiness. You take a funky nap after the funky dance. But the main point of releasing is a practical one. Is just to have these songs attached to my name as the author, have ISRC code so I can put them in, my performance rights organization, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, so that people could start using them and I get credited. And any platform that pays royalties will pay them to me. I will, like I said before, make them free on YouTube. I will not monetize these on YouTube. So they will be effectively the same as my YouTube audio library songs, which are commissioned by YouTube, um, and therefore free for use on the platform. And I've learned that that's a good way to make songs popular, make them free on YouTube. And then if people use them in other platforms, they won't have to pay, right? Do you pay when you use a song on Facebook post or an Instagram post? No, but I do. I get paid. So that's kind of the idea. The hook, so to speak, uh, is to make them free on YouTube so that everybody uses them. If they go viral on YouTube, that virality will bleed out to other places in the world, which do generate royalties for me. And that's how I'll be making my money from these songs. That's the idea, folks. I hope it works out. Okay, so we have 2 minutes. The song is 5 minutes long. But yeah, I can afford an extra three. It won't be super late. Yesterday I was a little much later. So I'm gonna hit play here. We can all listen together to the whole song one last time. And anyone who's tired of being so zen can bow out and say goodbye. And I will say goodbye at the end. And we'll be back tomorrow with a new song. So we're doing seems about 3 streams per song. That's how it's working out. All right. And again, thank you everybody who joined and everybody who's interacted with me in the chat. I can't stress enough how happy that makes me feel. Lumimia says it's very inspiring. Thank you for the suspended moment. And yes, it's very good French. Bravo, bravo. Good day to all. Ah, thank you. I think I have decent pronunciation. I'm just limited as far as vocabulary and grammar. I would need to spend some time in Paris or anywhere else in France for that matter. I haven't been to France in over 20 years. Okay, let's listen to the song and say goodbye. That was lovely. I don't know about you, but this is I much. Oh, I was gonna say I much prefer, but it's not true. I have fun doing all of it. I was gonna say I much prefer doing this kind of more experimental, freer composition than when I go like the blues or funk. I think this is more interesting artistically, and I feel like I'm expressing myself more because when I'm doing traditional genres, I'm being derivative intentionally. But I have a lot of fun doing that stuff too. So I can't say I prefer this. Maybe I prefer the outcome of this, um, but the process is just as fun for all of it. So once again, thank you very much, everyone who joined the Human Music live stream. See you tomorrow. Stay human. Goodbye.